gentlemen, this is Billy Alexander, and I'm coming to you once again with another episode of The Run-In. Guys, you've seen the show multiple times. We're in episode, I don't even remember now. You know how this works. I come in here, I give you 10 minutes of punching you right into face knowledge and some information about some professional wrestling and a little bit of whatever we want to talk about at the time, and then I get the fuck on. Oops, I forgot. Disclaimer, yeah, it's my show. I say what I want, do what I want. Has no affiliation whatsoever. No, let me take that back. It does not share the views and thoughts, blah, 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 of heel turn wrestling, even though that's me. Anyway, folks, for you who have not been on the show or have never watched the show, welcome to the show for the very first time. Let's jump right in and talk about some wrestling. That's how we go these days anymore, right? Dude, did you all see Mike Tyson show up on AEW Dynamite bringing a whole fucking posse? For one, Tony Khan, Cody, the Bucks, you know, everybody involved in AEW and the upper brass had no fucking clue that was going to happen. They knew Tyson was there. They knew he was bringing some people with him. They just didn't know he was bringing a whole goddamn fucking RV full of them out there with him. I mean, he had fucking Henry Cueto, Vitor Belfort, Rashad Evans. I mean, he had a stacked, you know, a stacked weapon behind him if needed. Anyway, Mike Tyson is legit regardless if he's 50 years old or if he's 75 years old. He's a crazy maniac from all those years of boxing and everything else. And you can't fucking just, you know, script shit with him. It's just, here we go. I watched the segment very closely a couple of different times. There was parts of it that was legit. There was a straight shoot. And you could tell by some of the actions of Cody and some of the other guys on stage that were forcing Mike. And you could tell when they were up in his face, you're like, Mike, no, this isn't going to happen here. You need to go now. This wasn't what it was supposed to be. I mean, you could tell, maybe not word for word as they said, but you could tell something was happening. And they got Mike Tyson out of there. The segment I thought come off a little weak because it just replayed over Mike Tyson from many years ago in the WWE with Stone Cold Steve Austin against DX when he turned on DX and joined with Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. It kind of had that vibe, but on a different level because one is Chris Jericho, and anytime you're in a ring with Chris Jericho, you know, some magic's going to happen. Will Mike Tyson wrestle AEW? No. Will Mike Tyson end up in some kind of a fist fight with Jericho? Maybe. Or even Jake Hager, even at that fact. But speaking of Jake Hager, did you see that Chris Cyborg wants in now? She's like, oh, I saw Mike show up with all of his posse and he's missing a woman. I could fill those shoes. She's already stated at one time she did want to do professional wrestling because it made no sense to her to sell if you weren't really hurt. So she's always bad-mouthed it off. But yeah, she talked about wanting to come to WWE. Right about the time that Ronda Rousey showed up. She's talking about jumping over to AEW and at least being in a posse of Mike Tyson. God knows what's going to happen. The segment ended horribly. They should have let Jericho out on the staging area and let him and Mike at least get a hold of each other for a major breakup or pull apart happen again. But other than that, man, Mike Tyson's a maniac. And that leads into the next segment where Jericho went to ESPN, and he's like, Tyson's a fucking firecracker, bro. You do whatever the fuck he wants, because that's just how it goes. There's no script in it. You just go out there and hope the best. Jericho's been in the ring for 30-plus years, and he can handle things like that, and all that as well. And it's just, does wrestling need that crossover, really? I mean, do we really need a crossover to MMA and boxing? I mean, is it just all of them trying to stay relevant in the same style or the same listed category, I guess I would say, in certain places? Mike Tyson wrestling for AEW? No. Fighting Chris Jericho or even Jake Hager? Possibly. You know, who knows what's going to happen there. But either way, Mike Tyson wanted to lay the smackdown on Chris Jericho. Speaking of SmackDown, SmackDown recently had a firing. They had a gentleman who not only worked for WWE way back in the WWF days. A lot of us wrestlers known him as Big Dick Johnson. His real name is Chris DeJoseph. And he worked for WWE for a long time. Was brought back in recently, too, right about TLC, to help out with SmackDown and some writing. And he became the head writer of SmackDown. He was promoted within the last 2 weeks. And then was fired. Apparently, it's being brought to the attention that he embarrassed. They said embarrassed several executives inside of WWE, and that he presented himself in a very highly unprofessional manner. Now, there's no real details on this just yet, but if I get some, I'll make sure to bring them your way. But because of this, there was no doubt about what they had to do, and they went ahead and just axed it, said, see you later, Chris, have a future endeavor. Speaking of the Bosch on things, Darren Young came out on a podcast and talked about, on the Dropkick podcast, said that there was talks within WWE of a united Nexus faction of some sort in Tampa for WrestleMania. As we all know, that didn't happen, who all watched, due to everything that was going on in the world and things changing inside of the WWE circle. They decided they weren't going to go with that. Even though the Cena and Bray Wyatt match at WrestleMania, the Firefly Funhouse, brought up lots of stuff from that past encounter between Bray Wyatt, or Husky Harris at that time, with the Nexus group, which could lead into, or could have led into, him coming face-to-face with some familiar foes from the past, or even Bray Wyatt into the Husky Harris character. But they nixed it. It's done. It's over. It's on the shelf. Probably won't see anything like that. I think it would have been kind of cool because they probably would have got a pretty big pop. And you know they wouldn't have got them all. Not all of them. Ryback would not have been there. You definitely would not have seen Barrett, because he's in NWA right now. You would have seen a few of the guys, I'm sure. But it's just not going to happen this time. But it could have been a great big pop there in Tampa. WWE executives were notified via TPS reports. Tell me what movie that's from, you fucks. The memos and everything else. Within the last 48 hours, within the last 2 to 3 days, they were sent information that all this stuff's been going on since April 15th when the first cuts happened, and WWE was slowly furloughing or laying people off or whatever they want to call it. They gave these executives within the last 48 hours memos stating that you are going to take a huge pay cut starting your next paycheck. I understand the impact of business with these decisions, but you got to take in the fact that these are executives that have worked with WWE for multiple years and everything else. So some of them have a lot of family. Some of them have family tied into the company in one way or another. And you'd hope that Vince would be able to do the right thing by this and still be able to take care of everybody, even though he's telling them he's going to cut their pay. It sucks. It happens. Hopefully, as we see around here, a lot of things are starting to change. More businesses are opening up around here. You're able to go to certain places now. They haven't let a lot of sit-down dining happen in my area, but you are able to get inside for takeout and at least mingle and talk to people a little bit. So I can understand the business aspect of it is the WWE's losing money. How can we afford to keep paying all you guys your salary when we're losing money? So we got to figure this out. Here's what we have for you. WWE blackballing indie performers. Now, this is a urban legend that's been talked about for many of years as one person or a group of people don't like somebody down here on the independent level, so they make damn sure that they don't get a tryout for WWE. They make damn sure they get nowhere that's close to WWE in any of the smaller factions and promotions and stuff that do work closely with WWE. And it's come out that Lufisto said it happened to her. She's claiming, now I'm going to read this word for word. She did a interview with Stiff Right Hand Podcast and said that there's somebody up north in WWE headquarters that absolutely does not like her and does not want her there. She goes on to say, bring us up here, my ex-husband talked to somebody who was there, and I'm not going to say their name. Now, fuck that. List their fucking name. Let it out there. That person back then, now this has been a while back, told my ex-husband because he asked him, like, what's wrong with my wife? He's like, absolutely nothing. She's politiced out. It was that clear. I was like, okay, fuck that. Why was I talking about depression? Because that's where it actually came from. Trying to figure out, why does this person hate me? What did I say? Trying to find and go back in memories. Like, was it this? Was it that? No, I went to the point almost of freaking out because I couldn't find anything that caused this. She goes on to say, I spoke to Medusa about it a few months later, and she said, you have no idea how someone to keep their job is going to say shit because they think you're a threat. I'm like, okay. Lufisto will likely never make it to WWE. It would have been very interesting to know how or who stopped WWE from hiring her in the first place. Perhaps that will eventually come out and she gets more comfortable retelling this unfortunate story that could have been something huge for her career. Perhaps we knew who was blocking Lufisto from WWE. We could get around to figuring out why she's banned in the first place. I wanted to use her words there. Guys, I think, yep, that's it. I got nothing on the back page. But next one I want to talk about, I want to save for another show. But it involves Bully Ray. That's right, 5150. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's the run-in. Thanks for tuning in and everything else right here. Don't forget to check out the Heel Turn Facebook page and check out Headlocks and Hangovers, The Franchise Takes 5, the Heel and Face podcast, and the Sleeper Hold. Sleeper Hold does air on Thursday nights on Heel Turn Wrestling's Facebook page. Check out the YouTube page for the run-in and Headlocks and Hangovers. Check out the Heel and Face podcast over on the Heel Turn Facebook page. Guys, that's it. Gone. See you. Bye. Get the fuck off my screen.